Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the Acquisition SIG. My name is Rhonda Kuiper, and I'll be leading the group. And I didn't have anything specific. I've got a couple of updates for you on things that we've talked about in the past. So I'll start with that, but then if you've got questions or you want, discovered something in acquisitions or anything like that, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. So I closed it. The one thing that we've been talking about a lot is how to do the end of year processing so that you get items charged or reflect. I don't know what the word is, encumbered. There we go. Encumbered on the correct year, so that when you get close to the end of the year, the things that you know that aren't going to come in until the next fiscal year are on the next fiscal year. And that way you have a better sense of what you've got left to spend. You've got a more accurate reflection of what is going on. So I've been talking with Catalyst and trying to work out some kind of workflow. And so the last time I updated her, I gave her, she had given me a couple of different options. I didn't really like either one of them terribly. So I gave her a third option that Nick from Bywater had suggested a while back. And so we're kind of working through that process. And it would just be to add like a drop down on the stage a file screen, to add a drop down there that says, what budget do you want this on? And then it would look at that budget year and find the code for the fund within that budget year. And then we can do, I suggested, that drop down would show active budgets. And then if you wanted to access inactive, there's a couple other places in Koha that do show inactive with a little checkbox, and you could do that. And then I suggested that that they display the newest created to oldest created inactive budgets in there, and you can pick an inactive budget. The reason I would have them inactive is because for EDI ordering, if you have two active budgets, when it gets received on the newest budget that's active, which would not be what we would want. So if we just have one active budget, then when something gets received, it will get received on the correct year. So that's kind of the state of that
Rhonda,
enhancement.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I had a question on that because we all had spoken before about most of us having the same fund codes every fiscal year.
Yes.
My question would be, how are you going to differentiate? Because right now I can pull up inactive budgets and it's really hard. I'll have like 4 adult fiction and I'm like, well, which year is this from? It doesn't say with the drop down. Will the new drop downs state that?
What the drop down will have is it will just show you the budget. It won't show you the fund. So it will just show you the budgets. So we name ours, 22-23 budget year, or 23-24 budget year. So you would just pick the budget, and then Koha would go and find, like if your stage file has a fund in it of, adult fiction, or, you know, whatever your fund is for that, then it would look for that fund code, you know, AFIC, let's say, in the budget year that you selected. Does that help, Christie?
Yes, thanks so much.
Yeah. Okay. And I think Barbara and I think it was maybe Christie too mentioned, Barbara explored, and I think Christie had mentioned that if you're not doing EDI, you can get this to, you know, you can get it to work with 2 active budgets where you can go between active budgets in the 2211 release of Koha. So if you're not doing EDI, it should be, you should be able to assign items to, if you have 2 active budgets, assign them to whichever year that you want. It just seems to be that the EDI stuff is the problem. So, and then I've seen a little bit of activity, you know, in the bugs, not a lot, but a little bit of activity related to the stuff that we had done earlier about updating a fund amount. You know, like if during the middle of the year you need to change how much money is in your, you know, whatever fund, adult fiction, I'll pick on them again. You know, let's say there's a worldwide pandemic and your city cuts your budget by, you know, 20% or something like that. You know, you'd be able to track the fact that you reduce the budget so that the next year you can see, oh, okay, we had this much in the budget at the end of the year, but we subtracted this much out and now we're getting that money back. Or somebody donates something to a particular budget that you have, you can add that in and be able to track it and see it right there versus, you know, having to write reports and pull that information out and make lots of notes in the note fields on the budget. So there's been a little bit of activity there as well. And then I need to plug the koha-US conference that is going to be in Portsmouth, New Hampshire this year. I have the dates here somewhere. September 20th through the 23rd. So that's 4 days. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I just saw a Slack message or something come through that said registration is now open. So the agenda or schedule or whatever you want to call it is up on the website. I know our city needs to have the agenda before they will approve travel. So that's up and the registration is now open. So thank you, Jason. Jason just put the link to the conference information in the chat box. And so I would encourage anyone to explore going to Portsmouth for the conference. It's a really great way to meet people, start to develop relationships, and just learn all kinds of things. Every year I go, I've gone for, I think this will be my 6th year that I've gone. And every year I learn something new because Koha, you know, is always changing and adding new stuff. And so I would really encourage you to go and see what's there. And, you know, just check the schedule and see what's interesting there. So related to that, Marci, Barbara, Holly, myself, and Daphne are going to get together and come up with a presentation on the possibilities of acquisitions. You know, what are some of the different ways? So, you know, Daphne said one of their people actually has an acquisitions type workflow around suggestions, which is part of acquisitions. Marci and I do EDI ordering, but we each have our own flavor of it. And Holly is the one who actually does the ordering. And then Barbara is a non-EDI person. So hopefully between all of us, we can come up, you know, we can show all the cool things that acquisitions can do and to help with workflows and, you know, to work smarter, not harder kind of stuff. And so that's one that, you know, you might be interested in listening to. Our library is also going to do one on the homebound module, which I know a lot of libraries have expressed interest in. We were actually using it, and we'd be, you know, it'd be great to get some more people using it to give it a little more clout, if you will. So I think those were all the things I wanted to make sure that I talked about. So is everybody on 2211 at this point? Are you thumbs up or something like that? I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, we are. And I sent out an email, I think, to everyone out of my frustration when I first was trying to look, you know, to the acquisitions group, but it's like, what's going on here? And I'm getting used to the new format, but I'm questioning why there are so many clicks and why these things exist and why it was changed. So I was wondering if maybe we could go through that and someone might be able to explain it to me, or if there's the same frustration. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. I kept meaning to explore that further because Holly's the one who actually does the ordering. So I'm not in the guts of it.
I'm happy to share screens if it
Okay.
helps. I just
yeah, that would be
okay,
great.
Let's see. Okay, so first there was this one I sent to Bywater out of desperation. So this is staging. Oh, this is adding the records, like the on order records, to the basket. So it was a little bit different for me, and please anyone chime in and tell me like, oh, this is the same, or this is why this exists, because I'm just still trying to understand it. I have my workflow now, but so here we add the stages to the basket. I don't remember, like, if I click on, the problem is if I click on one of these, it's hard for me. I can't do the back button. It doesn't get me back to where I need. And so then I'm like, and that's what was happening in the beginning. I was clicking on like, oh, what does this do? And it was like, oh, darn, I can't get back. And I'm like, why is this here? So if I click on the unqueued job, it gets me to here. And this tells me nothing about, oh, what record did I import? It just doesn't tell me, it doesn't tell me anything I need. So I don't know why it's there. And then again, it's hard to get back. And then if I check on view batch, go ahead. Was someone talking? If I check on view batch, this is how it was before. It would tell me like there's a match. And then what was helpful to me is I could right click like over here on the item, and it would bring me like, oh, this is where the match is. Maybe that's after I import it. Again, it kind of messed me up. So I'm not sure why those two exist, besides when I add the stage files to the basket, and I think Barbara helped me a little bit on this during like a system admin meeting. This comes up, again, it's an extra click, you open it up, and then the CSS was rewritten because this is off the interface.
It's terrible, isn't it? It's terrible.
And then so nothing is existing over here. It's like, where's the first I was looking at it, I was alarmed. I'm like, okay, where's the price? It's not importing. The fund's not importing. So I had to look over here. It just is not intuitive. It's like, what happened? Why did it happen? And so I want to know if anyone knew like why this was changed so much. This is just that one portion of ordering. Then I have the next portion of staging the records and importing them as well. So does anyone have a comment on this process that they think it's great or why it's an improvement or what I can do to make it easier?
Hi, this is Marci at McKinney, and yeah, it does seem there's a little more clicking that I have to do. Can you back up to the page where you go into the batch?
Here?
Yeah, so I always click into this. I don't look at the enqueued at all because that doesn't tell you anything. My main thing when I'm bringing in records is I want to know if it's matching on anything, because those are the ones that I have to mess with or make sure the right ISBN is in the right place in the record. But if it finds a match, it should show you the match details and let you click into that record.
Well, so that's, yeah, once you import the batch,
It should do it even before you import it, and you don't want to import it here. You want to use from this screen. I can use the browser's back button and it gets me back to the previous screen before I clicked into the view batch.
this one?
Yes, and then I click add staged file to the basket unless I had to go fix something that was matching that I didn't want it to match. But yeah, this first screen that pops up, to me, it's not useful because it doesn't tell you, it doesn't summarize the matches, which is what I think used to happen.
Correct. Okay, so yeah, now I'm just clicking add stage files to basket. And I think a lot of you know that prior to 2211, I don't know if this has been fixed, but undoing an import was a bug. And so what was happening in this, I was like, oh my gosh, I imported this, but it wasn't the right information. I wasn't sure how to use the new module format. And I don't know if the undo import is still broken, so to speak, because I did try it and it doesn't seem to be working right. So that's this portion. The other portion, let's see. Was on the, when you actually import, let's see. Can you guys still see my screen or no?
Yeah, it's on the immediate screen.
It's on the what?
The Word document that says immediate screen after staging.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let me try again to the, I think it's this one. So can you guys see this now? The mark staging?
Yeah, it looks like it's part of your Outlook or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, so this is when I'm importing full records. So I'm staging the records. My job is finished. And I think this is where, and Marci, maybe you can confirm or somebody, that it used to list again underneath, like, okay, which items were staged, like you had 40 items. And this is where I could, I think, right click on the item and it would bring it up in another tab and I could say, oh, look, this is correct, it's on order or something. So I can't see anything here. It's finished, but I can't see anything. So if I click the, again, the on queue job, this tells me really nothing. It's it's not informative to me. If I click on view batch, then that's when it tells me this, and this is, I think, where I could right click. So again, it's kind of like extra clicks, and why do we have that? And is it necessary, and why did it change? I guess that's my question. If anyone knows.
I think just on the enqueued, it's probably not of any use to you, Christie, because I think you said you might have 30 or 40 in a batch. But if you were bringing in thousands, I think the idea there is just to allow you to see the progress on it, because for a lot of people, it looked like the import had stalled or something like that, and then they were going in and double clicking or restarting it or whatever. But if you have a good fast system, it's probably, as you said, it doesn't give you any meaningful information, so I just wouldn't click on it. But that's now, I think that's the justification for that one. And then I suppose they changed the others because somebody somewhere thought it was a good idea, even though the people who actually use it don't agree. And I think that's difficult when we're looking at things on Bugzilla. We don't always appreciate how it's going to affect our workflow. And even for the people who sign off on these things, they're not always the people who are on the ground doing the work. And I suppose, just to be fair to the developers, this is the stage where I'd say, you know, to encourage any of you, if you have any time at all, that you could give to testing things on sandboxes. That's where your input would be really useful, that you would say to people, well, that's working, but it's not going to be practical in our scenario. But I don't know how we change it going forward. Do we put in a new bug to say you want to have an old feature back?
I think they need to know. Have you reported this? They have I think they have a survey looking for feedback on 2211. But in any case, I think if you're supported by Bywater, we would like to see information on each record imported too. I think it's a shame that's gone. But I think they need to know that it would be good to have that back.
Yeah, I've reported it. Thank you, Eileen. I'm not sure how, again, I think the person was sent out of frustration, like what's going on here? You know, help, because this is not, it's not what it used to be. And again, it's okay with change. And I just was, there must have been a reason for the change. And I'm trying to understand, because if I felt like I understand the reason, maybe I'd understand the formatting better, and I'd say, oh, this is why this is here, and this is helpful for this reason. But at this point, I'm kind of at a loss. Like, why do we have extra clicks? Why isn't the necessary information populating, you know, below? And it wasn't broken before, so I'm not sure why it was changed.
Thank you, Barbara, for the added CSS stuff. I agree, Christy. I thought it was related to the full on change of how Koha looks entirely on the staff. And I do not enjoy any of the new changes myself. It took me and my coworker 2 days to figure out how it's working. And even then, I'm not even sure if we're doing it right sometimes. Because like today, I found out that all my Aspen records for my Midwest orders have an invisible 952 order field. Now I have 2 items on order in the database, but not in Koha. I don't know. Something, I don't like the new change either, Christy.
Yeah, this, I know that Bywater usually has a developer or two.
Rhonda, we can't hear you.
Whoa. All right. Can you hear me now? Verizon, here we are. I moved in a little bit closer. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I know that at the conference, Bywater usually has one or two of the developers there. This might be, you know, that's still 2 months off, but it might be an opportunity. I do think what Daphne suggested, maybe putting a bug in Bugzilla, you know, just to say, hey, you know, let's here's some updates or, you know, things that were changed in 2211 that aren't helpful. And, you know, if we could kind of just say, so basically we just want, you want to be able to see the matches and the, yeah, mostly it's if something matches right on that first screen, right? That's the way it used to be.
Correct.
And that makes
Same.
it, yeah, yeah.
And the like job progress on that screen that said, because when something would corrupt, it would stop halfway and I would know after about a minute or two that, hey, it didn't go to 100% on my little bar. What's wrong? Now there's nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you have to click on that in queued job thing. And I think what Daphne said too is, you know, it was about speed or, you know, trying to make Koha run more efficiently, you know, so that it could kind of go off and do its thing and this in queued job thing. And then, you know, you could move on and do other stuff and not have to sit and wait for it to finish. Or, you know, think, oh my God, goodness, if nothing's happening, what's going on? That kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, that's where that enqueued thing, I think that's going to be used in other places. So it's sharing the same functionality in different places. And the other thing just to bear in mind, sometimes when major redevelopment like this happens, it's because the old code, you know, maybe the old acquisitions code, if that was part of the original development, it's 20 years old now. And sometimes things are added on, and particularly in acquisitions, we've had a lot of functionality added over the last, say, 5 releases, and it just gets so disjointed. The developers basically, they find it difficult to follow, and the danger is always then if you try to change something that you break something else further down. So that's why they say we'll start with a clean sheet and we'll develop this nicely. But then sometimes they miss out on some of the things that are most useful to us because they don't appreciate, you know, I think looking at it, there might be a danger that they think now most of us use EDI, which, you know, 20 years ago we didn't have. But there are clearly lots of people who still use the other workflow.
Yeah.
But I think if we're putting in bugs, rather than just say this has changed, to try and frame it, can we have something back, the things that we need back, and tell them, you know, how it needs to work.
Laura from Bywater had suggested that I put in a bug for this, but again, was it Michelle who was talking about when sometimes it would get stuck, the import would get stuck at a certain point, and I would know to tell my vendor, we do EDI ordering, I'd say, oh, look, it stopped at such and such title. Is there something wrong with this record that you gave me? I don't seem to be able to do that now unless I'm missing something, again, because the item information is not listed underneath.
Yeah.
Is it possible, this is Eileen from CLAMS, is it possible to get okay, so it would slow things down while the loading has happened to see an error report, but at least after the load is done, is it possible to run a report on that load.
So the problem, Eileen, is it won't load completely. It actually stops when there's something wrong with one of the items. And so you don't know which item that is. I used to be able to tell.
Yeah.
So,
If there was a way, even after the fact, that showed, okay, it's stalled on this particular item, I just thought maybe that would be helpful.
That would be extremely helpful because it isn't often, but it's often enough that I would like that back.
Mhm.
I don't know the system well enough to know if it's possible to do an import load report. If that's something we could ask for.
Mhm. Okay. So one of the things I'm thinking is we could create a ticket in the Bywater system. I don't know, I could do it or anybody else could do it, and just put a link to this discussion there so that the developers could get an idea from our discussion of what kinds of things we're missing, that we would like back. And then we could, I don't know if that seems like a reasonable thing to do. And then just have some conversations with some of the developers. I'm not sure.
whatever works. Something else just came up. I know Michelle and I were talking about records that maybe cause the import to stop. But there was also the point where when you were able to see the items again, I'd like open up a new tab because I didn't want to lose that tab on one item. And then perhaps you did the import wrong for whatever reason. You weren't paying attention and you added an item instead of, overlaying the item, like you wanted just to overlay the barcode or whatever. And at that point, then you're realizing like, uh-oh, I need to undo my import, which again, I don't know if that feature is still working, but at least I could be alerted to that. It just helped me like to look at like, okay, did this import properly? And if so, great, let's just move forward and I'll go to my next task. But that was just my other comment.
Okay.
I didn't even know undo wasn't working, Christy. I've been so busy with like 8 other technology programs that went live this month. I didn't even know that wasn't working yet, or if it was working or had a bug, I should say.
Yeah, the last time I checked, it still wasn't working. The bug in Bugzilla, which I don't know. I'd have to do some digging to figure out where that is, but it looked like it wasn't resolved yet at this point.
Yeah, Michelle, it would actually, if I undid an import, it would actually undo my on order records, which was disastrous at some points, because if I had, hundreds of items, I would have to put them back in again. So it's kind of evolved and changed, but the last time I checked, it wasn't working either. So I'm a little bit hesitant to use it, which means you have to be sure that your imports are right.
I will let my co-partner know when she comes in later on today to be very careful because, yeah, we haven't needed to use it because we only just started ordering the new fiscal year like last week, so we haven't messed up yet. But now be very careful not to mess up.
Yeah, I think that's been broken for a while.
Has it? Because I feel like before I went to the most newest version of Koha, it was functioning.
Oh.
Like I feel we only just got this version 2 weeks ago, right before our Aspen went live. So I feel that it was working at least in May.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking through the I did a search in Bugzilla just trying to find it, but nothing is.
It's so hard to find some things in Bugzilla.
Yeah.
There's so many
so
ways of
many-
titling an issue, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. It probably doesn't pertain to me, and then I ignore it, and it does.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I want to figure out an action plan. So if I'm wondering if we start with Bywater, kind of describe a little bit of what, put in a ticket, describe, some of the function that we had last release and don't have this release that really cramps our workflow. Then and maybe just make a comment in there about, we discussed this at the July acquisition SIG, and pretty unanimously agreed that, the change was not helpful. Does that seem like a good place to start? Then, Bywater can create the bug if they need to, and they can use all the right words, and go from there.
Or that something was lost. I mean, we don't want to
Yeah.
come out as anti-change. Perhaps something was lost in the change.
Yeah.
And what was lost are the following.
Yeah, Barbara's asking if Christie could share the document she created detailing the issues, because you said you sent that to Bywater at one point, Christie, is that right?
I did, and I'm happy to share the document. Do you want me to email it to the group?
Sure.
And I did, just FYI, so staging and importing records. Oh, the undo import. I just found the bug.
Oh, okay.
Bug 14210. If records, wait. Oh yeah, Nick had put it in. I don't know how many of us, I don't know if someone has it up or I could share my screen. Bug 14210.
Yeah, you go ahead and share your screen. I've got it up too, but you can.
Okay. So, oh, this is me down here, and Rhonda, I guess
Yeah.
we've all kind of been in here, but so it was actually Michelle deleting the records, which was just what I was talking about. So when you undid it, it deleted all your on order records, and so you're kind of up a creek. I've been so frightened to test it. I think I did try to test it again after 2211 came out because I was so confused with the new process that I believe it did it to me again, but don't quote me on that. I just remember it didn't work for me. So it doesn't look like anything's happened on this.
No, it's still in new status. Sorry.
Andrew, this is
I
still
wonder
true
if
and still
it's
bad.
a certain point then, because I swear I've never had it like delete an item entirely like that to me. Because I'm reading it too. I typed into my other screen so I could reread it, and that's weird because yeah, it's never deleted items on me like that. Like yeah, it will undo if I told it. Oh, I wonder. I understand now. So we only recently started EDIing everything except for like the small vendors. So it probably didn't matter before because we weren't replacing items. It wasn't until I think this fiscal year that we started making EDI everything. And yeah, this would definitely affect EDI more than it would if you're manually adding it because you're not replacing an item with the old way, you're just manually updating it.
Yeah.
So how do we get movement on this?
Well, you and I tried to poke at it. Um, So if everybody on this call, on this meeting, goes in the next, well, is it assigned? It's not even assigned to anyone at this point, is it? Oh, yeah, it is. This person would get blasted with updates. And voting for it would be a good way. Putting your name as on the CC list would be a good way, you know, to get some movement. I don't recognize the name, but
I don't either. And so who are these assignees? Are they always Bywater people or
No,
no?
these are from Koha Worldwide. So whoever, you know, assigns it. Oh, Equinox. Okay. All right. So Galen works for Equinox. I'm not as familiar with their staff. So we could poke at this and say, you know, if you put a comment in, you know, if we all did it at the same time, he would get, you know, 10 updates or whatever, saying this would be great. We need this work, you know, we need this function. We especially realized it after 2211 when we needed to undo some imports. I don't know. And, you know, maybe, I don't know, Michelle, can you connect with Equinox and say, hey, we've got this bug. And this is an old number here. What did I see? 2015, 8 years ago. It was opened and nothing's happened. So we need to, this is one we need to poke at, I think. I don't know. Daphne, do you have any other ideas on how to get a bug moving?
No, the voting is the best thing. Otherwise, it's just if somebody would sponsor it.
Right.
Now, my fear would be if that's opened since 2015, nobody's enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling too. Doesn't feel like it's important.
But I suppose, you know, the voting and would maybe get people to look at it again. And the reason why nobody picked it up in 2015 might be different now. You know, we're looking at completely different versions. So
yeah, that's true.
Well, Katrine had commented that she wanted to raise the severity of it because it's about data loss.
Yeah.
That was what, 2022, is that right?
2020. Oh,
2022,
yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And then Rhonda, you chimed in 2023, and then I chimed in a few months later. So when she's saying raising severity, I don't know if that's like looked at or.
It should be, but I don't know.
And I kind of get why it's happening because you're basically overwriting a record. So I understand how it may be, although I'm not a programmer, I understand how it may be difficult to like undo that and get that original information back. If you weren't overwriting, it may not be as complex, but it should be doable. Otherwise, we shouldn't have that functionality because it's scary.
Right. Yeah. Because I think it's been doing this, well, yeah, it's been doing this as long as we've been on Koha. Because we were 2016, I think, you know, we migrated in 2016. So it's never worked for us. Oh, the bug number, Michelle, is 14210. And I will. Okay, yeah. Got it. And yeah, so definitely vote on it. Does everybody know how to vote on a bug?
Can you
Yes.
remind us?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, I can do that. Because I will just vote on it right now. As soon as I find where my share screen button is and move these things around. Okay. So can everyone see my Bugzilla screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is the bug 14210 and manage stage mark. So there is, there's the importance thing, and then there's this vote. So this one has 7 votes. And if you click on the 7 votes, you can see Aspen Cat team put in 7 votes. So there's only one really person, because you get, oh, this is going to be the tricky part. You get so many votes, which I can't remember what the number is, 50 or something like that, that you can have active at a time. So I could go in and vote. So I'm going to click on the vote. And then you can see I've got votes outstanding that maybe I should delete them because those bugs seem to have been dealt with or whatever. So 60 votes used out of 200. Wow, I was really off. So, you know, my habit is obviously to vote 10 times for something, but you could, you know, vote however many times that you want. So you just enter your votes where it says enter vote here. So I'm going to do my usual 10, and then I will update it. And then I will see that now I've got 10 votes there. If I go back, it doesn't always work so great. Okay. And then refresh. Now there's 17 votes for this particular thing. So that's all it is. That's all that there is to it, to vote on something. The other thing you can do is over here on the CC list, 7 users, including me. So if I click on this, I can see everybody that has put their name on the CC list. So what that means is every time somebody updates this particular bug, you will get an email with their update. And so that's how I've sort of kept track of it. So I put my email in here. What you would do is just type in your email in this thing here and save changes. And then after that, you would get updated every time a change or an update comment is added, whatever, to this particular bug. And that's a good way to keep track of the ones that you're interested in if you don't do that already.
And how do you, this is Eileen at CLAMS. I'm always nervous about using too many votes because the limit is 200. So I see my colleague Michelle has put that question in chat, but
Okay.
how do you get those ones that are resolved? How do you bring those back to 0? Do you just change them to 0 and update?
Yeah. So I can go in here and I'll just delete these because I need to. Okay, housebound, and I'm not sure why this one still has a link. But those 3, I know that these are all done. So I'm going to say change my votes. Only use non-negative numbers for your bug vote. Oh, I thought I could just get those out of there. All right.
I think
So
maybe do 0, Rhonda.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I'm going to change my vote to 0. There we go. Changing your votes has been saved. So now I've only got 40 used out of my 200. So then I can, you know, I want to double check this one because it's still got a live link. Oh, it says close fixed. Okay. Then I'm good.
So I have a question on that. So you're going in there and your maximum amount is 10. I suppose if you're voting on a lot of bugs, you're going to be careful about, oh, I only want to put 5 on this one because it's not as important as bug number such and such. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, I could go in here and put, what would that be? 50, 50, 50, 50 on these. Actually, this one I'm going to say 0. Because that one's done too. So I've got 3 bugs that I voted on. And so I can just go in here and, if this one. So I could up this to 50 if I, wanted to get somebody's attention.
I thought it was maximum of 10 votes per bug.
Yes. Okay, you're right. I thought I did 10 for just me, but okay.
So my other question on that screen, when you go back to the original bug,
Okay.
so see where it says importance, and then it says PS, low, and then major. I think I've tried to change that before, but I mean, who's in charge of that and how is that determined?
Daphne, do you know the answer?
I don't. I think you can probably change it there, but it will be reviewed by whoever is currently on the team for reviewing. I think Catherine Fisher is still doing a lot of the reviewing, and they'll review, and then if they think no, it's not actually that important, they will change it. But I think you should be allowed to change that. Like P5 is the lowest, so you don't have to say it's major, but maybe move it up to a P3 or a P4.
Yeah, let's try P3 and save my changes. And then everybody in the Koha community is nice. They won't come after me or anything like that.
No.
They'll just say, we didn't agree with you.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it means they will go and look at it now. Somebody's going to get an alert that this has been changed. So they may look at it and say, well, I'm sorry, we still don't have anyone to work at it. Or it may well be that they will then see this is obviously causing a lot of concerns. So
I'm gonna
And
put
it's better to, is it better to always add a comment, which you're doing now, to kind
to
of,
back it up. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it is better.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why acquisitions is not a word that I can spell very well. After discussion, we determined that this bug is I don't know. What else should I say? Is that enough?
You could maybe reinforce that it's deleting important records in our ILS when we undo the import. However you want to word that.
Yeah, it's deleting. No, it's deleting records. It's basically what it's doing.
Item records, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see Jason put a link in, which I've never really looked at before, but it's a page about bug reporting guidelines and priority.
Oh, Okay,
And I'm going to read through it, but I see the first thing it says in there is that the priority field is not actively used, and you can safely leave this unset.
Oh,
And then it talks about the severity, which seems to be the quite important one. But in my opinion, I'd still do it, just, because it's going to get somebody's attention.
right.
So whether, they may come back and say priority isn't important, but at least they'll see that you're, interested and have issues. But I'm going to read through this more because it's not a page I've really, I don't think I know everything on this page, and it's probably helpful.
Yeah, okay. All right, after discussion, we determined that this bug is negatively impacting the bug is deleting item records and import. Okay,
The interesting thing is when you look at the button, it was obviously created for a reason. So was it ever working is my question, and what
Right.
was its functionality?
mhm. Okay, we've stirred things up a little bit here. And you can see up here, changes submitted for this bug, email sent to, and then everybody that's copied on that list will get an email saying there was changes in there.
Well, so Nick got that, which is good from Bywater because we work with Bywater.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing, I don't see anybody's, I guess the assignee will get it as well, I'm assuming, because I don't see that one. I don't see that last name. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm guessing that's Galen. Okay, I just looked at the time and realized we have gone through another hour of fun discussions on Aspen, or not Aspen, on acquisitions, different A word, stuff in Koha. So yeah, when you get off the, when you get out of the meeting, go in and vote. Now that you know how to do that, and put your name on the CC list, you put your email on there, and yeah, we'll see if we can get a little movement on this one as well.
And I'll go ahead and follow up again with an email to the group on my notes. And again, if Bywater or someone has some enlightenment, like, oh, we changed it for this reason, and this is going to greatly improve your process, I would love to hear it because I'd love to utilize it to its full capacity. Other
Sure.
than that, I'd rather have it changed. So
Okay, all right. That sounds good. And then we will, yes, we need to remind everyone that our next, oh, am I still sharing my screen? I think keeps moving around on me. Okay, so our next meeting is going to be August 15. The third Tuesday is the 15th because August 1 is a Tuesday. So it'll be it'll feel earlier in the month, I guess, kind of mid-month. So that, ooh, you know what? Let's not meet in August because the following week is going to be the conference. And there will be time for people to meet at the conference about stuff. So let's not meet next month in August. No, August, September. Oh, okay. It's been one of those weeks. Let's meet in August and on the 15th. And then in September, we probably will not meet because I'm thinking that it would be it would be the day before the conference at that point, and I will probably be on an airplane going to New Hampshire on that day. So we will meet in September and August on the 15th. Same time. So everybody have a great Tuesday and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Great discussion, guys. Appreciate it.